and welcome to our program Where God Weeps. Among the more than 74 million inhabitants of Egypt, of which 94% are Muslim, Egypt has the largest Christian community in the Arab-speaking world. To tell us more about the situation facing Catholics in Egypt, it's my pleasure today to welcome His Beatitude, Patriarch Antonios Naguib, the Patriarch of the Coptic Catholic Church in Egypt. Your Beatitude, thank you for being with us here today.
My pleasure.
Your Beatitude, please, what is the Coptic Catholic Church?
Before the division of the churches first in 451, the church was one. So there was the different areas, different churches, and united in the communion of the one church. And in Egypt, there was the Alexandrian church. And in 451, with the definition of the identity of the person of Christ, some churches did not accept it, and they were separated from the universal church. But in Egypt, there was a small group that was faithful to the common faith. But after the Arab occupation, this group was very weak. With St. Francis of Assisi, started the mission in the Middle East and mainly in Egypt with the Franciscans. And from that time, some Egyptians, Orthodox, rejoined the Catholic Church. And the number grew until Pope Leo III instituted the Coptic Catholic hierarchy with a Patriarch and 2 dioceses. Now, there is a Patriarch and 7 dioceses.
What would we be talking about numerically? How many and what percentage of the total population?
In Egypt, the population is 75 million. The Christians are around between 10 and 12 millions. The Coptic Catholics are a small minority of 250,000.
How does the church live in this very minority status?
It is numerically a small church, but it is very active. And also, it has a very great influence in society because it is active through the schools, through the social work, and through also the charity organization.
Which is a little bit of a contradiction because in Egypt, as I understand, to proclaim your faith, you're limited to the walls and the property of the church. However, you have such a strong social presence in the schools. I think there are 170 schools. So there is a strong social presence of the church in society.
Yes.
Is this not a contradiction?
We can say that we are confined in the limit of where we have our institutes, and there are many. It is not only the church, the building of the church, on the area of the church, but also in the schools, outside from the time of the school program. And also we have many other also institutions. We have monasteries, we have houses for spiritual recollections, we have meeting houses, and also social centers where we have the social work, but we have the building, and there we can have also some pastoral also work limited to our faithful. So it is not so restricted.
And is it because the government allows this freedom because they perceive that the Catholic Church has a strength in this pastoral and social field,
No, it is a policy for all Christians.
that they are able to be so active in this social area?
Yes, for the social work, there is no difference between any organization that belongs to a church or to a civil organization or a Islamic organization. It is the same, because we all follow in this field one law that is fixed, but the Ministry of the Social Affairs. And we have the same possibility that they have.
The churches are full.
Yes.
There is a fervor of the faith.
There is.
Can you tell us about this fervor?
Yes. You know, it is a well-known phenomenon. Always the minorities need to be together and need to support the one another. And they need also to feel some warmth of the relationship. It is their support. And mainly in the religious field. In Orient, the feelings are very important. And it is not a sentimentalism, but the feelings, we have this warm human relationship. And for us, the feelings and the social reports are essential. And when we arrive to the religion and it touches the religion, this is a point very, very, very essential. That's why it is natural that we like to be together, we like to celebrate together, we like to share together, and we like to pray together. Parents, children, and the neighbors, people in the same area. And it is normal. And it is the every day, let us say every Sunday, event of the life. The most important thing on Sunday is this celebration, which is not easy because Sunday is not a holiday for us. We have Friday. But nevertheless, they found also the way. You have many masses. People who work, assist and are there, participate to the mass of 5:30 or 6 in the morning, or in the Catholic Church in the evening.
Egypt is, of course, a Muslim state.
Yes.
How does a Christian navigate in a day-to-day in this environment? How does he live his faith?
If we see things from far, we immediately will say, poor people. But if you were born there, if you learned to live with Muslim kinders, Muslim young people, then Muslim colleagues and the neighbor, it is the everyday context of our life. So we learned and we know how to live with them, to deal with them from our childhood. And for us, it is a very natural thing that we are there in this context. And we always find a way to live together, even in the most difficult moments or periods. And otherwise, the Christianity in our regions would not survive.
Your beatitude, although the Christian life is full, and the churches are full, Christians are leaving. And it is posing a serious threat, not only to the Coptic Orthodox, the Catholics, all denominations are facing this common problem. What is the challenge? Why are the Christians leaving? And how is the church trying to respond to this problem?
I can only tell you that the USA embassy, the Canadian embassy, and I am not sure about the Australian embassy, every year they open a period of application for immigration, which is
A lottery.
a lottery, exactly, a lottery. And you can be surprised if I tell you that there are millions who come and make this application. And the number is proportionated to the population. If, for instance, 2 million applied, you can say that there are 200,000 Christians and all the rest Muslims. So it is due to the socio-economical, mainly economical situation of the country.
Not religious.
Not mainly. It could be also in a small part. But for everybody is looking for a better life. Even the professional. I know, I was sick, I got in 2 surgeries very serious. And the medicine doctor, he is a professor in the university, a head of a section of surgery of neurology. And after we became very, very close friends. And once he came and told me, can you find me an opportunity to immigrate to Canada? Everybody wants to live. Everybody dreams about a better life, according to what he imagines it. And this touches also in numerously and in quality, because it is the quality that is missing. And many, for us, the churches, we feel that. And we suffer from that, because they are the best who live.
How does the international events impact on the lives of Christians?
For them, the Western is Christian world, which we try to make them understand that it is not true. We can't identify Western with Christian faith or Christian churches or Christians. This is politic. And in the politic, it is not the religion that counts. And also, if some are Christians and they are at the head of a country, it is not because that are Christians that they have such policy, but because they have their own interests. And we have to explain that continuously, and mainly in the meeting with responsible people, with dialogue groups, and they understand. But how to reach everybody in the country? Very difficult. So the impact was and still is negative. They consider us that against the Islamic countries because we are nearer in our faith as Christians to the Western politic, and this means against them, which is not true at all.
Is there a rising fundamentalism in Egypt, and how do the Christians feel this? What incidents?
Yes, there certainly that after also this, it was one of the reasons or one of the factors that they're used to increase their, we can say, their propaganda. And they can reach also the simple people intellectually and educationally. And this had its results. But in the official position, in the government, and the official declarations, we have just the opposite. And I like always to remember and to say how the actual president and government are really trying to do everything in order to keep the social peace and mainly between Christians and the Muslims, as well as between the different political also parties. But the religion is very, very sensitive.
What about dialogue?
Yes.
What efforts and what successes is the church making with regard to dialogue with the Muslim community?
As you know very well, when we speak about dialogue, there are different levels of dialogue. So we begin with the day-to-day dialogue, which is the dialogue of life. This we leave it.
What do you mean by dialogue of life?
Dialogue of life is the everyday's life as a citizen, as a neighbor, as a colleague in the work, as a client in any place I go.
Because Christians live side by side. We don't have, like in Lebanon, for example, a Christian quarter.
No.
In Egypt, it is.
We are mixed everywhere and in all the social classes. There are very few localities, small localities in Upper Egypt mainly, where there are only a small community of only Christians, very few. But usually we're everywhere and in all the social lives and all the professional fields, always according to the proportion of population. And the most important field and the background of the dialogue of life are the schools. Very, very, very important. That's why they give first importance in our ministry and the presence to the schools.
In fact, in the Catholic schools, I understand 77% of the population are Muslim.
If you take the totality of our schools, it is different of the locality where they are. Some, the majority are Christians. I know a school where there are 95% Muslims.
Is this an interest or an intent of the church to open its doors, or?
It is always open. And we do not choose the students, the pupils, because we have an organization from the ministry. We have to accept all the applications at the beginning of the kindergarten stage.
How is religion treated in the schools? Are you free to teach the Christian faith? How is that handled within the schools?
In all schools, the private like the Catholics or the public, which is the greatest majority, the religion is a part of the program. And the religion is taught by people from each religion, confession. So the Muslim have their teachers, and it must be a Muslim, and the Christians have their teacher. And during the class of religion, they are separated. The Muslim go in a room and the Christian in a room. And each group has the teaching of his religion.
But we come back to this lived experience, this dialogue of life.
Yes.
What fruits do you see coming out of the schooling education system in this view of the dialogue of life?
It is really huge, because when you live together from your childhood, 5 years, and because before also entering in the KG, they are in the pre-KG in order to get the chance to go in the KG. So from 4 years old, sometime, to the age of 17, 18 years, you are close friends. And then after that, when you are educated in such a school, Catholic school, with an open mind, with an open heart, with a common life, and after that, when you meet Christians, you are ready to deal with them, to help them. You understand them. They are not strangers to you. And this changed a lot. Because many, it is an elite always. And many from those have after that a responsibility charge and a responsibility duty in the society or enterprises, something like that. And this is very, very, very important. Many times, often, we meet people in the ministry and the offices, and they said, men or women, and they say, I was a student in St. Mark School by the Sister of St. Joseph. I was by the Sisters of Notre Dame, and so on. And the attitude is very different. If we take also the proportion, there are not so many, but they are not so few.
What is your greatest joy and what is your greatest suffering? So I start with the suffering. What is your greatest suffering?
My suffering was and is always when one of the greatest suffering for me, and during my 25 years as bishop in my diocese, former diocese, was always the family problems, which are tragedies. When the parents are not united and they do not live together in love and unity, this is a tragedy for the family, for the children, for the church, for the society. And then another great suffering certainly was the loss of young priests in accidents or due to health problem. And I suffered a lot from that. The same also, you can understand that. It was very, very, very few cases, but it touched me very deeply, where some left the Christian faith. It didn't happen often in the Catholic or in the community and the diocese where I was, but it happened.
What is your greatest joy?
My greatest joy was the vitality of the church, and mainly the education and vitality and sharing of the youth in the life of the church. I gave all my time, much time, living with the youth for education. And from those, the church got many consecrated vocations, many leaders, many very good parents, fathers, and mothers. I thank God for what He gave me.
Aid to the Church in Need helps a lot in the pastoral areas. What is the importance of the work of Aid to the Church in Need for the Church in Egypt?
Aid to the Church in Need help us a lot in our pastoral ministry. And first of all, it was for the training and formation of the seminarists, seminarians, and for the continuous training of the priests, and mainly for this youth formation. They helped us also in different parishes projects. They helped us also in the Bible distribution.
What would your appeal be? What would your call be, or your request for benefactors to respond to the needs of the church in Egypt? If you had an opportunity, what would you ask of the benefactors?
First of all, to pray. Then, in their generosity, to help in the projects for the formation, education, and training of different groups, and also for the means to help our faithful to know better the faith. For instance, booklets or books, and also the Bible, and some pastoral also needs, like the audiovisual, like that. So all what needs the community to know better, to live better, and to serve better.
Your Beatitude. Thank you very much for having been with us.
Thank you for this opportunity.
It was wonderful to talk with you.
Pleasure for me. Thank you.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us here today in our program. And if you'd like to know more about the Catholic Church in Egypt or how you can help, I would encourage you to consider the contact information at the end of this program. And I look forward to seeing you next time on Where God Weeps.